Yeah, we're gonna need some spark plugs, probably a full tune-up. I can't remember last time I tuned this thing up. And oh hey, how you doing? Just going through and making notes of some parts I gotta order for the old YJ. We gotta get it ready for wheeling season. But I put a post on the Book of Faces asking you if you'd be interested in a video on my YJ and the story behind it. And at least 10 of you said you'd be interested in that. So I figured, what the hey, let's do it. We're actually going to do 2 videos on this. Video number 1, we're going to go back in time to the vehicle previous to this that led into the buildup of what is now our YJ crawler. Going to take you all through that from almost 20 years ago to present day. Then we'll do part 2 next week. Here is part 1 of the 2-part YJ series. I hope you enjoy it, because I enjoyed making it. Okay, before we get into the details of the YJ buildup, we first need to talk about this rig. This particular rig is a 1983 full-size Wagoneer that I had wheeled previous to having the YJ, and we're talking around 2003, 2004-ish. Pretty well built rig. I ended up swapping a small block into it, putting a 4-speed 205, 44 front, 14 bolt rear. Wheeled this thing for a while, and eventually got to the point where its tongue was quite literally hanging out, and ultimately ended up destroying it at a farm party in 2004. Now, when that had happened, Sean Vineyard came up with the idea, maybe we just need to find you a YJ tub and frame and swap all your stuff over into this. So with that being said, after the Wagoneer was destroyed, put some feelers out. Ended up talking with a guy on a message board, and long story short, July 1st, 2005, I went to the Badlands and traded $200 and a 203 transfer case for this jewel right here to kick off the buildup. So I drug my new purchase home and to show my family and friends, and even though I felt like I had made major strides, let's just say at first that they were less than impressed.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
So despite their less than warm welcome to the project, I did what anybody did back in the day, and I referred to Pirate 4x4. Now, those of you familiar with Pirate 4x4 know the significance of the picture I have posted on here. But anyway, Pirate 4x4 was great, and the reason Pirate 4x4 was great is because it was full of information and tech and all kinds of other stuff. You could literally find anything. Build up threads. There was ways to instant message each other back and forth, and a lot of tech, a lot of good information, and to be honest with you, I miss it. And with the help of Pirate, I got the plan together to build the Jeep, and then reviewed it with my friends, and went from there. Speaking of Pirate, also thanks to Pirate, I got a chance to meet this guy, which you will recognize. Yes, that is a picture of a much younger me standing next to a much younger Ian Johnson, as you may know from now Big Tire Garage and back then Extreme 4x4. Anyway, Ian had nothing to do with the build-up, but, you know, it's my channel, and I figured that was a nice, cheap way to throw the picture in. So getting back on track, like I said, after reviewing Pirate, I formulated a build plan. That build plan was to take this tub and frame, and we was going to use the drivetrain from the Wagoneer. Again, that is the SM465 4-speed, the 205 transfer case, a 44 front, and 14 bolt rear, and was going to hang it in the front with Wagoneer, the 7-leaf Wagoneer springs, and then use the XJ rear springs on the rear, turned around, to give us, I believe, I think back then you could, if you'd use that combo, you could get like 104 some ish wheelbase. I can't remember exactly offhand. Anyway, that was the idea. Just going to build a simple leaf sprung full body YJ, and then build it up later as time allows. Enter another friend of mine, Ty Cottrell, who came over while I had the frame up on jack stands, getting ready to prep for all this. I'd already done the spring over on the front, welded in the front mounts, had the springs, had the axle hung. I was getting ready to go to the rear, and he's like, why, when you're right here with a blank canvas, why are you going to put leaf springs on it? Just go ahead and 4-link it. And back then, we didn't have the fab skills or the tools that we do nowadays. In fact, everything was borrowed. I literally welded everything on this Jeep with a borrowed welder. But Ty had taken his YJ to the Badlands, because that's really about the only shop we had here close. He took it there, had the 4-link done, with the idea of, let's pay somebody to do the first one, and then we'll just copy off this to do everybody else's. So that's what I did. I crawled underneath his Jeep. I took some measurements. I had never made a 4-link before, and I still remember this vaguely. Got on the JEGS website, ordered, they had a kit, you know, 3/4 heim joints left and right. Back then 3/4 was huge. Everybody's like, why are you going so big? Yeah, bought the heim joints. There was no weld-in tubing bungs back then, so I literally took 1.25 inch solid bar stock, drilled and tapped it, and fast forward, made my own 4-link, and that was just the beginning of the end, if you will. And yeah, ended up with a 4-link and coil springs in the first incarnation. Then came up with some Joker outfit. I don't remember who it was now. It didn't work. They were totally junk. He was going to build his own coilovers. He took Rancho 9000 shocks and used some QA1 parts and put coilover springs on it. And I ran them for a while, but they were junk. They just didn't work. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But what we ended up coming up with, after a couple of years in the garage, less than 2 years, I believe, if memory serves me right, this beast rolled out. And like I said, we used the same 36-inch swampers that was on the Wagoneer. Built the roll cage, the fashionable seats you see in there with the Hawaiian seat covers on came out of Ty's Jeep when he bought some suspension seats, because I literally built this thing out of stuff everybody else had laying around. Part of the roll cage came out of the next door neighbor's Jeep. I reused the front half. The rear half of the roll cage we built ourselves with borrowing Ty's tubing bender. The hood and the grill I bought off of a shop in Brazil, literally off their back lot, because they had some scratch and dings that nobody wanted. The original small block that was in the Wagoneer was junk, so put a junkyard throttle body injected 350 in here. If you look, you can see the coilover sticking up there. You can see the links. No winch. Couldn't afford one at the time. I'd end up putting one on later. But yeah, that's basically how it looked when it first rolled out. Here's another shot, the rear view. You can see we had an aluminum fuel cell in there because, like I say, when the rig was first built, it had a TBI 350 that I don't even think we even got a year out of it, and then ended up going to the different engine, the propane and everything, but I'll cover that later. You can see the coil springs. Those didn't last long because, like I said, we ended up going coilovers. Man, this really takes me back because you can see the comp cut, which was all the rage back in the day. The sealed beam tail lights, because there were no LEDs back then. But yeah, that's what she looked like when it first rolled out of the shop and seen daylight for the first time. And then here is a picture. This was May of 2007. May 6th of 2007, as a matter of fact. This is literally when it was done. Ty came over while I was at work and done me a huge solid and done all the painting on it. You can see we had some more tube work since the last photo that you seen. The coilovers are on. But essentially, this was it. It was ready to go. The only thing I had left to do is I had to take it to the exhaust shop, get the exhaust done on it, and then we would be wheeling the next day. But before we could go wheeling, we had to stop for this poser shot right here. On the left side of the screen in the tan YJ, that is Ty. 95 YJ, 4-cylinder, got a 44 front, 8.8 rear. In fact, not really a whole lot has changed. Ty is still wheeling that rig today. Got a V8 swap planned, waiting on a transfer case that, thanks to the supply chain, it's been almost a year to get that. Naturally, the middle is the YJ, and then over on the right hand side is the next door neighbor with his CJ5. Not really sure what ended up happening to that rig. It's probably long gone, changed hands a few times, but anyway, that rig's not around, and next door neighbor's not wheeling anymore, so there's really no point in harping on that. So after we got all our poser shots out of the way, I loaded it up on the trailer, and we took it to the exhaust shop, then took it to Dairy Queen Cruise In, and then took it on a shakedown run, and unfortunately I lost pictures of the shakedown run. I don't know what happened to them. But I like this particular picture right here because I towed it with patches. The 84-ish GMC that I eventually ended up selling to Ian Johnson. He made the mud truck out of it on Extreme 4x4. But my favorite comment as I was loading this is Ty's brother Dean was like, "I cannot believe you're all that work, that beautiful Jeep, and you're going to tow it with that. Do you want to borrow my truck?" And I'm like, "No. This is great." But yeah, maybe I didn't exactly have the best priorities in order, and I probably still don't today, but hey, it is what it is, and you do the best with what you got. So yeah, the rig got built and wheeled it for quite a long time in the full-bodied configuration. Started wheeling it around 2007 and pretty much wheeled it this way till 2014. Just going to toss in some random highlights here, different wheeling trips. I don't want to overload you with photos. But see, the greatest hits that come to mind, naturally, we ended up putting a winch on it. The Dana 44, I ended up having to upgrade it with chrome moly shafts. And once it got to the point where that couldn't hold it because it split the case on the lunchbox locker, then I ended up going Dana 60. The TBI motor didn't last long at all. Blew it up. Run the 358 on propane that's still on there. And upgraded to 38-inch TSLs. And ran the living crap out of it to the point of where the body was just beat to hell. And it literally got to where it wasn't safe. I mean, I remember the last time that I drove it in this configuration, me and my daughter were in Attica, and I'm noticing that the roll cage and the body are moving independently of each other, and I'm like, I gotta do something different. So, put out the feelers out there, looked on Craigslist, and found another tub. And I'm like, it works great the way it is. Let's just tub swap it and, see if we can't get another 7-10 years out of it. Well, that plan didn't last nearly as long as we had originally anticipated, and we came up with something different. So, like I said, after wheeling for at least 7 years, the old YJ body had just about had it, and I decided it was time to do a tub swap. But, however, sometimes I'm my own worst enemy, and I couldn't just stop with a tub swap. Now, I mentioned the name Sean Vineyard earlier in this series of being the one that had mentioned the YJ tub and frame. And this vehicle right here is what Sean was wheeling at the time. It was a back-halved YJ, had a 383 on propane, 4-speed, 60 front, 14-bolt rear, and I honestly thought it was the baddest machine around. And it's originally what I wanted to build when I started building my YJ. I just didn't have the means to do it at the time. And I thought, you know what, if you're going to go through all this trouble of swapping the tub, let's just go ahead and build what you want to build. And I didn't want to copy this rig, per se, but I thought, we can just go ahead and build our own version of this. So I stewed on it for a little bit, and here's another picture of Vineyard's buggy doing what it does. And, I just thought, well, here we go. So I swapped the tub and took it over to Ty's place, because at the time I didn't have a shop, and I literally cut the thing in half and never looked back. And my fabrication skills were not what they are today. I was still learning. So Ty started the back half for me. He had the tubing bender and everything, and his brother is an amazing welder. In fact, even to this day, if there's something I'm not comfortable welding, Dean gets the call. So Ty and Dean started the back half, and then I brought it back to the shop and finished it up. And I guess the rest is history, if you will. Like I say, put a new tub on it, new hood and grill, completely redid the tube work with the back half, did away with the garbage coilovers, put 14-inch air shocks on the back, And new suspension seats, some other upgrades here and there. Then I thought, well, we're going to go through all this work and everything. It might as well look like something. So I had my buddy Chris Laws spray down some beautiful 2010 Camaro. I believe they call it antifreeze green, if memory serves me right. It's been a few years. And yeah, in fact, he was almost in tears the whole time because he knew how I was going to treat this thing. But man, it came out beautiful. It just absolutely came out beautiful. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing, I was getting ready to take it out wheeling, and the Swampers had just about had it, and as luck would have it, we went to a high lift event, and my wife drew the winning ticket, and we got 5 37-inch Nitto Trail MTs on a raffle. And those tires are still on there today. They don't look nothing like they did a few years ago. But yeah, it was sweet. The back half, the rig wheeled awesome. And I mean, I don't know what else to say. It wheeled like I thought it would. And, you know, it was the dawning of a new era, if you will. Yeah, that's not too terrible. Oh, you're back! Man, that brought back a lot of memories, making that video. A lot of good times back then. And I hope you'll join us for part 2, where next week we'll talk about the current state of this YJ crawler and what we got planned for the future. In the meantime, between those videos, check out our Teespring store. Get you a fashionable RICO'S Garage t-shirt. We also have hoodies and decals available as well. If you do this, it'll help support the channel. Maybe we can put some paint on this old girl. Well, I'm not going to. I'll get somebody to do it. But at least I can buy it. But anyway, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you join us next week for part 2. Because, man, I had some fun making it, and I hope you had some fun watching it. Till then, I'm Rico, and I'll catch you later.